Okay, so we're going to get started. So good morning, everyone. Welcome along to another edition of Landmark's Compliance Corner webinars. My name is Sam Peacock, for those of you who haven't spoken with me before, and I'm the Business Development Manager here at Landmark with a big focus on compliance. For those of you who may have missed our previous webinars and perhaps you'd like to use them for your staff training, please just head to our YouTube channel, which is Landmark Estate Agency Services, and you'll find all our content on there. So the focus of today's webinar is just going to be giving you a few tips on things you need to include in your AML policy. So this webinar shouldn't take more than sort of 10 minutes. It's just a few light tips to make sure you have these things included in that policy. You are all on mute as well, just to prevent background noise. But if you do have any questions, as always, my contacts are going to be on the last slide for you to be able to get in touch. So we've got quite a lot on the call now, so we're going to get started. So just to give you a bit of background before we go into actually writing of the policy, when we talk about the AML regulations, we can appreciate it sometimes feel like it's just another headache for agents to have to deal with. But unfortunately, the regulations are only going to be getting stricter, and there isn't any getting away from understanding your responsibilities. HMRC are set to release a fifth money laundering directive in January 2020. The most current version of the guidance is here on the slide, but there are set to be changes coming out in January. And of course, obviously, if you are one of our clients or you do watch our webinars, we'll be posting about it when these changes happen. We're not 100% sure what these changes are going to be as of yet, but it's just something to be aware of. Now, sometimes we hear this and you may think that money laundering is not a problem in your area. Perhaps you're in a small market town, but the fact that there is 4.4 billion of criminal funds laundered through the UK property market every year just goes to show what a problem it is. And HMRC are ramping up activities to try and crack down on this problem with recent efforts such as their Flag It Up campaign you may have heard about. Because agents are the first person to come into contact with both the seller and the buyer, you are viewed as being in the best position to early identify any suspicious activity. Now, we know with HMRC handing out large fines to estate agents after inspecting them, the one probably most talked about earlier this year was a large corporate receiving a £250,000 fine. So when they do fine agents, it never seems to be a small sum either. Often when agents receive fines from HMRC, it is down to procedural failings from the agent and just not taking their responsibilities either serious enough or their methods aren't consistent in how they carry out their due diligence. Remember, however you choose to carry out your AML procedures, you must be consistent in this method across your company. So the money laundering officer for your business must ensure that you have policies, controls, and procedures to reduce the risk of your business being exploited for financial crime, and these need to be appropriate to the size and nature of your business. The policy needs to be regularly reviewed and updated to reflect any changes in your business, and that staff are trained on this policy and how to implement it in your agency effectively. If you do identify any weaknesses in your policy, you need to document these and then record how you change these and how you improve them. And as I said, you do need to review them at least annually. You must devote enough resources to dealing with anti-money laundering, and you must ensure that the level of procedure you put in place is done in a risk-based manner for each situation. Now, the key to remember with doing it in a risk-based approach is that this method should balance the cost to your business and customers with a realistic assessment of the risk that criminals may exploit your business for money laundering and terrorist financing. It allows you then to focus your efforts on the most important areas of your business and reduce unnecessary burdens. You do need to have a risk assessment for your business, and we have talked about it in a previous webinar on how to write your risk assessment, which you can find on our YouTube channel. But today we're just going to focus on tips for your actual policy. So again, just to recap, your policy needs to outline the controls and procedures you've put in place that reduce the risk of your business being used for money laundering, and they must take into account the degree of risk from the customers. So to put it another way, your policy needs to outline what your procedure is for verifying normal risk circumstances that require standard customer due diligence, and what you do to verify clients that are high risk and require enhanced due diligence. You then also need to include how you monitor those clients once you've signed them up. Just because they can provide valid photo ID, the book doesn't stop there. You need to then monitor them, for instance, in case their situation changes or they do anything that alerts you that may be suspicious with their behaviour. Any checks you do carry out on clients need to be kept from 5 years from the end of the business relationship with that client. You must also include how you identify when a customer or beneficial owner is a politically exposed person, or a family member or close associate of that person is politically exposed. And you need to do appropriate levels of enhanced due diligence in those situations. Often when we speak to agents, checking for PEPs is just something they've forgotten to include in their processes. If you are just taking manual forms of ID, how have you checked if the client or their close associate is a PEP? Your policy needs to explain who your money laundering reporting officer is, and you have to report anything suspicious to the National Crime Agency. So a good idea would be to set up a login for the National Crime Agency and put these login details in your AML policy. So HMRC can see you've already thought about it and have access should you ever need to report anything. You need to think about training too, and this is so important because a lot of agents sort of forget about this point, but HMRC are really hot on it. You need to include how you train your staff, not only on your procedures for verifying clients, but also that they're trained on the regulations, and that also they are trained on who their money laundering officer is, and that they know how to look out for any suspicious behaviour. For larger estate agents, you need to take your AML policy one step further by also including who your appointed compliance officer is, who has responsibility for monitoring the effectiveness of and the compliance with the policy controls and procedures, including regular reviews to learn from experience. You also need to include what the individual staff responsibilities are, what your process is for reviewing your procedures, and how you audit your business. Now, if you've watched this and you think that you would like to change or improve what you're doing, a Landmark can take the hassle out of complying with the regulations. We provide a pay-as-you-go electronic AML service that helps you to automate the way you verify your clients and remove the need for paper-based checks in most circumstances. This makes it much quicker and easier to onboard clients, and it helps you to demonstrate a consistent and proactive approach to HMRC that you're taking your responsibilities seriously. You have a full online audit trail of all your checks, so it's easier to review your processes and ensure that everyone you've taken on has been checked properly. You can carry out both normal and high risk checks on our system, and we also check if a client is politically exposed as well. We don't turn you into contracts or make you pay monies up front, but one thing to think about is, as I mentioned earlier, about the fines that HMRC have handed out. Imagine the cost of getting this wrong if HMRC turned up compared to paying for an AML service and passing your inspection. We have over 1,000 agents using our system currently, and to date all of our clients have passed HMRC inspections. Not only that, but we also provide our clients with a money laundering policy template and a template risk assessment. So, following today's webinar, if you think, oh, we need to make a lot of changes to our policy and you're not quite sure it's right, if you're a client of ours, then we will actually help you to make sure that all your procedures and policies are what they need to be, and we provide templates of those. And we also give our clients access to free training resources as well, and training on the regulations for your staff. So it's just one less thing for you to have to worry about, as well as a dedicated account management service. Now, if you are wanting to sort of share this webinar with your colleagues, it is going to be recorded, and we are going to send this out after to everybody that signed up to this webinar. And as I mentioned earlier, it will be posted on our YouTube channel. Thank you everyone for listening today.